after which he started his very own label. Mr. Wendell Rodrigues' signature style is unique in India, blending ancient Indian geometry with a relaxed, going attitude. Thank you, Mr. Rodrigues, for visiting us here in Chennai.
Thank you and good evening. I must tell you I'm very happy to be here because I've heard a lot about this college and I've been meeting some of the students off and on. I'm going to lead you through what I do because I know what you do is far more qualified than what we do. I'm going to lead you through our website and see how we managed it and what transpired because of it. And more importantly, I'd like to tell you first a little bit about myself. I actually came into fashion through a career in hotel management. I studied the 3-year course at the Bombay Catering College, which is now extremely difficult to get into, and I don't think even I could get into the pass the entrance exam. And after that, I worked in that industry for 2 years management training in Bombay, and 4 years in the Middle East and Oman. And I think that worked and gave me an edge over other fashion designers because later on in my career, I could actually work with a corporate organization, which a lot of creative people can't do. Each time they would work with a corporate organization, they would kind of, stumble and create lots of tantrums. We had created tantrums for us. So it was, after I finished that, I managed to save enough money to educate myself in America. I went to Los Angeles, I got a degree in design from there. Did a further 1 year in Paris and came back to India at a time when it was all just starting, the entire fashion design phenomenon, because when I started out there was no school and you couldn't get a degree in fashion design when I passed out in 1980. When I was in Paris, something happened which made me realize that I had to come back to my own country. I had graduated summa cum laude in Los Angeles, got all the top awards in college, which meant nothing because basically American system of education is so easy, you just have to take marks. You have to choose between blocks. And I felt I achieved nothing there. I went to France, and there I think the whole creative process started there, where I realized that there was something very interesting happening in Paris. I had a very interesting portfolio. Everyone said it was great. I took it to Yves Saint Laurent, who was, as you all know, a very famous fashion designer in Paris. And at that time, Saint Laurent himself was running the studio, which is not the case today. And when I walked in, the first person who I showed my portfolio to, she said, Mr. Rodrigues, you know you have a wonderful portfolio. And I said, yes, I'd like to work as a trainee. And she said, we can give you that job. But she said, I'll recommend something better. Why don't you go back to your country? Because you have such a big culture behind your clothing. Because I see nothing of that in the clothes that I see. Because since I was trained in Paris and Los Angeles, I have this very Western concept of designing. And nothing Indian at all. No color, no embroidery, no nothing. So I took it as a personal insult that I was told to go back to my country and learn my own culture, which I did. I came back to SNDT University in Bombay as a lecturer, and while I lectured in world costume history and garment construction, I sat with the rest of the class to learn about Indian fabric and the history of Indian costume. And so it was like learning what I had to learn in the first place. What fascinates people was the fact that somebody who lives in a small village like Pulwale, I don't know if any of you all have been there. It's about 90 kilometers from here. It's lost in the middle of nowhere. The big question they would say, how did you from that small village make the name that you have attained for yourself? The answer was multi-folded, because it's not that it happened by chance or it happened by fluke. I knew exactly what I was doing. After I came back to India, it was a time when they were looking to make stars of young people who had studied abroad. So all the press, people who were working in the press, in the magazines, would call up and say, can you help us with this shoot, can you help us book a model? And these girls, most of them were girls, were young girls who were just starting out their own career as journalists. And I would help them, and later on what happened was, today, to my great fortune, they all ended up being editors of all the top magazines in the country. If I Divan, Marie Claire, Elle, Vogue, name it, and I worked with them in the past, and they would always, I had the power then later on to pick up the phone and say, I have shot this photograph with Deepika Padukone and I want you to put it on the cover, and they would. And other people would be fighting to get on the cover and they couldn't get covers. I remember one year when we got 3 L covers. And that is something which you cannot get anywhere in the world. The point that we started was 1988. There was no one, there was not a single fashion boutique in the country. There was absolutely no one, it was virgin territory. Before I showed a single collection, I was made famous in 6 months. And after I lived in Bombay for some time, I realized that first of all, we had to create a product, because advertising is one thing. I worked with advertising later on very big campaigns, for whether it was for Lakme or for De Beers Diamonds, reputed by the World Bank. I realized that if there was no product, people are not going to buy the final thing, no matter how glamorous you made it look, or no matter how great you tried to make it look. There were actually, I'm going to open my website and tell you what we did actually for this. The first thing I did was to move to Goa in 1993, which I felt I didn't want the buzz of Bombay. I had not be famous for 2 years. I felt that we wanted to create something new in Goa, which the country had not seen before. And what happened was I experimented with all the natural things that happened around me. At that time in my village, we mixed, for that time it was very unusual, we mixed cotton with banana fiber, and we mixed silk with pineapple. Okay, I'm just going to lead you through this thing. The first thing is that what we did was we shot all the images in black and white for 5 years. We didn't want to, I made it very certain that I didn't want to go more than, like say, at least 2 years in the field without creating a black and white images. So what we did was we went to the island of Divar right here, and also this is Malaika, what are the next one in my village in Bulgar, John Abraham coming up. What we did was we took the models and put them into this rural setting and tried to sell that as our USP. We were selling the fact that you can wear the clothes and still feel that you belong on a beach in Goa or in some village in Goa. And we constantly plugged it. We kept linking the Wendell Rodrigues image with Goa as USP first, and later on by pushing that into an urban context, because the clothes actually had to be worn in Bombay and Delhi and New York, but we wanted them to feel that you were buying the clothes and when you wore it, you instantly went on a holiday, or you were already in Goa. And that was a very clever thing that happened, because we managed after 4 years to make that equation that Wendell, Goa and the clothes and you actually wearing them. We also used a lot of what we call, see when I first started, I'm just going to stop there, not because Malaika was wearing a photograph, but when we first started out, we had no product with us. I mean, when you think of the three of the visually interesting India, it's always the India of the Maharajas, which is epicentered in Rajasthan or in some palaces. And there was this other India, which was Bollywood India. Bollywood India meant a lot of sequins, a lot of bright colors, sparkling, even kind of maybe kitsch. And we wanted to create, if I wanted to create the Goa and sell it, there was no visual reference. I had to go onto an abstract level and say, what am I going to pick? So we picked things like this shell bra that you see on top, which was never worn, but created the impression that it looked desirable and made a great photograph. We took what is called the Goan Kashti, which is the next one, which is a loincloth. We created this whole sense of lightness in the clothing, which was not there in the country before, because in the earlier part, we actually put, as you can see, a Bipasha Basu in a bikini top, sequined. Now it looks jaded. By the time I did it, nobody wore a bikini top with a sari. It was considered completely revolutionary when we first did it. Taking this whole concept of taking Goa and the beach and putting it on mainstream Indian ramp and creating it as our final USP was something that we worked on very carefully for the next 5 years. We also had a big problem. I'm going to stop there, Lara. We had a big problem in the sense that the clothes were simple clothes, like the t-shirt I'm wearing, but it was woven with silk and lycra, or it was pure linen and cotton. Problem was, how did we tell the public and how did we create the imaging to say, this is what you should wear? Because if I took this photograph, and even if I put it on Shah Rukh Khan or John Abraham, it would look like a black t-shirt. We had to somehow create the aspiration to get that black t-shirt. And my friend who's taken most of the photographs, said, Wendell, let's shoot the images as sexily, as sensually as we can, so that it creates the impression that the fabric is soft. And it creates the impression that we have a product which is unique in the country. And that's what we did. Of course, we would have these big fights, because every time Farhan and I went on the shoot in the village, it would be like, the model was completely dressed in the outfit, and then after some time we'd say, now can we lose the bottom? So we had to lose the skirt or the pant. So like the model was standing in a tuning. I said, now if you ask me to take off our top as well, we won't have any clothes to sell. But we were constantly aware of the fact that in fashion, sex sells. And we wanted to make it as sexy as possible, because that was going to be our USP. One of the great things about fashion shows is, at least the way I look at it, it's not about the clothes on ramp. It's not at all about anything that's happening on ramp. That is a inspirational level. You pick a theme, you run with it, and that is 1% of your line which possibly never sells, which you give to the models at the end, and they walk around because they don't have to, those are not going to fit anyone, that's what they do. But what we do is that, based on that, we take one sleeve, one collar, one neckline, translate it, use the same fabric, and create clothes which actually sell. And that is where our main business comes from. So all these images that you see are actually images that we created over a 5-year period. I do not know how I have to get this bar higher. Some tech-savvy person can help. So I'm supposed to skip this intro. Okay, once we were done with the imaging, I'm sorry, those of you who've seen this website, you find it boring, I guess. But I have to explain what is going on behind it. Why does it keep going down? I think I'll need your help again. Can we push the image higher? No, I think it's yeah, thanks. Okay, what the black and white photographs actually did was to create the sense that these were not clothes and they were art. And that was the only thing that we fooled the public, but we didn't actually fool them. We created every single garment that you see was created and used with other garments. This blouse that you see on the left, worn by Nina Manuel, is still our hottest selling blouse. It's actually worn with a plain gunji or a camisole inside and with trousers or a skirt. It's great because it fits all sizes. People who are small, medium, large, extra large. It hides all the dips on the side. Of course, here we have Nina showing all of it. We had used a very interesting technique, and this is what our USP also was, to create new fabric. It was from the fabric series that we went up. So in this case, what we did, I don't know if you can see clearly, but we had taken small 50 coins, which were I think available at that time, and we kind of like place a fabric on top and put a knot down, and we had placed many of them that way, and then we kind of heat set it. So when it unpopped and came out of the machine, it just looked like they had small rays, almost like octopus tentacles. And for the next one, we had used banana fiber mixed with silk. We had played lots of experiments. We wore once wheat with cotton and ended up being like a big lump of atta because once we dyed it, it was a mess. The next figure is, okay, this is something that was interesting. By being in contact with a lot of international designers and photographers, each time they came to the country, they had a small A-list which they would call. This is India Hicks, which is Mountbatten's granddaughter. And she was the face of Ralph Lauren's Safari, still lives in South Africa. And when she came to India, I was lucky because she's the only person I want to wear is this designer who's making clothes that were that simple. And we actually took a lot of clothes on. This we did a show at the Marriott. As you can see, this garment I think appeared in a movie called Chisel, which I was only movie I ever did, because movies are very tedious and we can't do them. This is Valusha D'Souza, who came for an audition in my studio in Goa when she was 15 years old. And the next year we put her on that. The next one also, as you can see, has got a kind of a grass weed which grows in the on the sands. So the entire imaging and the branding was done based on the fabrics that we were using so simply. Also, another thing is what I did at Chain Fashion was I used to go to tailors and I used to always say what method are they using to cut these clothes. In France and in America, we learned how to cut clothes by draping them on a dummy. You know, you have like a mannequin, like a wooden thing or a cloth cover thing, and then you drape the clothes on and you start to make this garment. But Indian tailors, I found, were extraordinary. They just had no concept of working with a drape on a dummy. They had all the math in their head. After about 7 years of working very closely with them, I cracked the code. What they were doing was they were creating a grass in their mind, multiple squares that they were saying, okay, we know how much to make the shoulder slope down because if you put a square on it, it's a 1 inch slope. And that way they would create these squares and they would cut the garment. We work with the squares. This garment that you see on Vipacha has just got one string. It's just a simple square and it's crisscrossed at the back. There's an open back. And we use this. The next one we used was quite interesting because actually it was a pop-up flower, like you get a child's pop-up book which kind of opened and the whole flower would move. We constantly stayed with the Goa theme. In this one we have Lakme Menon where we did a collection based on vampires. So behind the clothing and everything, but this was from the movie Jism. Again I'm talking about that octopus type garment. Both of them were in the movie. We used the Goa theme for all it was worth, something that was completely abstract, untouched, and pushed it for everything that we could because we knew that the beauty and the drama and the selling point lay in that final USP. Of course, the fact that all these girls became big stars, we kept our eyes open. That's very important in fashion. You can't be forward too much, you can't be backward at all. You have to be in the moment. And the minute a new face, whether it was a nice girl or a handsome man came on the horizon, you would grab him and, or her and just do the shot so that we had an establishment that we were doing what we do best. The next, in 1995, I was the first designer to be invited to Igedo. It was a big feather in my cap. They went over the entire country and they wanted to show an Indian style on an international brand. And this is Helena Christensen, who was a very famous model at that time, who actually wore the clothes, and they created a big hype because I was the first, guinea pig to go out into the world and experience this big foreign brand. It was very scary because nobody had done it before, but it gave me pioneer's edge, and we used. Okay, I'm going to go back here. These were all shot in Goa. Once we went into color, which was exactly 7 years later. After 7 years, we didn't we launched the label, we worked with it, and then after 7 years, I had my first show. And after 7 years, we decided that we had to show more than just the black and white images, but we had to get into color. And we created all the clothes. This is in Jimmy Guzzler's house, which is up in Sinkeri. We maintain the sensuality of the images. This is Deepika Padukone's first shoot with Upen Patel. When you look at it from the outside, it looks like it's simple, but it was inspired by flowers, bougainvillea flowers, which we did in actual pink and blue. And we kept moving the images each time, but it had a very strong thought process behind it. In my last collection, we picked a collection called Empress Theodora, whose story was very interesting. She was a simple girl who ended up being a prostitute, married the emperor, and then finally became the saint in the Greek Orthodox calendar. So it gave us wide scope to play with these different personalities and different kinds of clothes. Okay, I think I'm going to jump straight away into the next thing was the marketing. Okay, we had the product and we had the imaging. The next thing was to market it. We did our marketing in different ways. First of all, I made the celebrities wear the clothes. Whether it was the Rekha, whether it was the Ravina Tandon, you would say, try the clothes and wear it, and they did. With their first clothes, they actually bought and they wore. The second one we kind of gifted them because we knew if it suited their personality, red carpet became very important. Each time they wanted to appear somewhere, they would call up and say, "Wendy, can you make us something spectacular?" Whether it was Aishwarya Rai after she won Miss World and was doing a dinner or a premiere in London, we would actually send the clothes free because we knew that we could never get that publicity. There's no value to getting one page or one photograph in a newspaper today. We have to pay lakhs to get it. When the Indian Express gave me 2 pages about a month ago, I know that my company couldn't afford the 5 lakh bill that came with it. But we try to get the photograph in the paper because that is one of our ways of marketing. The second thing about marketing was that we did not start to open shops in all various places, which also works. We just work by word of mouth. We had one main flagship store in Goa, and then we would have small shops in the best shops in the country. So we have 4 of them at the moment, where you walk into this place and you feel that you are in the Wendell Rodrigues shop in Panjim, but actually you are in Bangalore or Bombay or Delhi. The other thing that we did for the marketing was we kept going to doing international projects. This is the advertisements that I did. This is for Brege. I don't know where it's on. This is an ad that we did in Paris, and we kept doing these advertisements because A, it allowed us access to a lot of international exposure. B, what happened was because of that international exposure, we got a lot more work in India. When we talk about marketing, as far as designers are concerned, it's not only about the money you make from the clothes. There's big money here. We get like paid 1 lakh a day to do these shoots, and they're normally about 5 days. So in that 5 days, we can walk away quite happy from the bank. And as you can see, being stylist for something like Swatch we shoot, I had no clothes to give the model, so I saved on my fabric first. But we had to create the mood because they kept saying we wanted to look wet, we wanted to look like, she's just come out of the shower. We had a strange story with this campaign because after we shot the entire campaign, we had tsunami, and then the executives in Switzerland were saying, now do we release a water-based advertisement? But fortunately, public memory is so short that by the time the ad appeared, it came about 5 months after we had shot it, that people forgot the tsunami completely. This is for Brege, one of the most expensive watches in the world, modeled by Dipanika Sharma. I think the reason she looks so sad there because she and Akshay were breaking up at this time. When we found Akshay, so she looks nicely sad, which is the look we wanted. This was an interesting story. When De Beers came to India, actually the Indian market in 1991 or 1992 were only cutting diamonds. The largest quantity of diamonds in the world that were being cut was being done in India. However, the designing and the cutting of the big stones were being done either in Antwerp or in Israel or New York. And this was something that the World Bank said, if you have the artisans who are cutting small diamonds, why can't they cut large diamonds? And why can't Indians design themselves the final products? So what the World Bank did was that they reputed a company in the UK who actually came down, and I was the first person that they met, and they said, what do we do? And I said, why don't you have a competition and your studio can employ the best three contestants. Like anyone could apply, whether you were a housewife, whether you were a technical assistant, whether you were executive, just doodling and drawing sketches, you could join. So what we did was that we actually got them to do these fantastic designs. Then we tied them up with a jeweler, because there were jewelers all over waiting for new design. We tied them with all the various jewelry, export people, the local market, and then we got them to actually make the piece. And then when they made the piece, we would photograph it, send out these 3 people every year to London, and then that's how the entire Indian jewelry market started. And after 2 years, Tanish opened its doors in Bangalore, and Tanish started to do what the West was doing all along by selling jewelry that was affordable and made with real diamonds and lesser carats of gold. The story I learned from this was that the UK company finally embezzled the World Bank of some $3 billion. And I sort of wonder how they were so lavish by buying my clothes, but then the story was out. The next ad you will see is from Kodak. It's interesting, it was done for the Goan market, for a shop, for something called Go Khatai or whatever it is. I think they still have the posters up, where Bipasha had a big fight with us because she wasn't wearing anything and was just releasing her first film. But what we did was, in this ad, it got such a good recognition nationally that they finally used the ads to go internationally, in Japan and everywhere, and of course we all made a lot of money. L'Oreal came to India in 1996, and the first time we started to, one of their main things was they wanted everyone to color their hair, no matter whether you have grey hair. They said we want to make it fashionable, and season after season. This is one of the bad things about fashion. They make you believe that you want the product and you don't need it. So people are coloring their hair, all colors, and looking quite stupid in the bargain. And I was looking at red hair, and I had to make that dress to, look at Lisa Ray. Of course, we had to fight a lot because we had to make models out of mountains and completely Photoshop the neckline was so deep. And we keep the Kingfisher started his calendar 3 years ago. It was a takeoff on the Vareli calendar. This was the one that we did for the first year. It was highly successful. So Mr. Maya gave me the cover, and money, of course, and we did the cover in Australia on an island called Bat Island, which was a torture because it was so cold. They had a cold wave suddenly in the middle of summer there. Deepika was up there in the front, and all the girls, the hair was flying all over the place, so we had put it up in buns, so they looked like a bunch of Goan aunties, I'm sorry to say. But it was a nightmare of a shoot, and I'm not happy with that yet. Garden Vareli, I came back to India in 88. My first job 4 months later was at Garden Vareli. We stayed very close friends. The director, Shahs, we had to use this awful polyester fabric in hideous prints and somehow sell their dream, which is why at one stage after 1 year, Mr. Shah said, Wendell, I know you like natural fabrics and this is a nightmare for you, so I'm going to give you money. And she actually did that. She gave me 20,000 rupees and said, you're going to start your own label, and that's how I launched my own label. But every year, Garden calls me back again to do what we call the hideous polyester and somehow make it look presentable. But it does look presentable. Over the years, we started doing many ads. We started by picking up, all of them went through the ads, Madhu Sapre, Vaishya Rai, and then we had to go for foreign girls. After the success of the Kingfisher calendar, we had to, this was Elite, which came down to India, and we actually created a storm because the sponsor of the calendar was Will's Lifestyle, and I don't think that they quite understood about my work, but when they gave me the girls and the boys, they all looked so nice that there weren't any clothes left, and they finally said we want to withdraw our names from the ad completely. We said it, but they still gave us the money. So, but I don't think they're going to use us again. This is Unitech, which is strangely a construction company based in Calcutta, and they wanted to do a collection, an advertisement based on water. And as you can see, what we did was we put the starfish with the water in the first thing and created this impression of being near the sea or being near the river. The next one is just kind of watering what's it called? Seaweed, kind of sea. Corals. And the third one is actually whipping cream in her kind of water-inspired apron in her kitchen. It was extremely well done. This is international well spun. Well spun was the bed sheets and the pillows, and we got Simalaika to look like she was wearing a gown, but in fact she was not. A bit of retro over here because we use a 1780 Ingress photograph as reference. It was an old thing being come back to look new. But it was fun doing these ads because it was invariably take the star and now do something with it. And we did things with it, like in the next star as well. We just made it look contemporary, and the outfit when actually it had nothing to do. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about, and this is quickly, dealing with or linking creativity with commerce was the biggest problem that we had. It was something that we actually never wanted to do on both sides of the divide. We would always have these big fights where people would say, why can't you get involved with the costing of the garment? But I didn't want to get into that at all. So we have a now extremely nice director who says, you do whatever you want, which is great by me. We will control it later and see what price we can bring it down to and actually sell it. So if any of you are going to work with the designer, that's the first battle to be won. Separate the creative from the marketing, the branding and the promotional, and don't show them any figures, because if you want to depress them or make them happy, talk about money. It works both ways. So I don't talk about money. I don't know how much money I have in my purse at the moment. I'm quite sure not much, but I have. I think it's money would cloud a lot of things. Whereas I think you guys in MBA have to only look at the balance sheet. I think it's an awful job. I sat in Sarita Sridhar's office, and I'm glad I got out of my last catering job. Where we can't sit in an office anymore because it's like the most boring thing on earth. At the same time, lots of people get very excited about making money. You know, they come, they like leave for work in the morning. And I've seen this time and time again. They leave for work in the morning and then they come back late at about 8:30, and then they like all set to crash and watch some television. They feel high because they made their company so many crores. And I'm saying, like, why should you do that? Why can't you live in Goa, enjoy all the fun that Goa offers, go home at 5:30, enjoy your sunset, and still get the money? So I think that's the way we would look at it. But I'm quite sure that we appreciate you guys, because you all are the guys who know how to make money for us while we are enjoying ourselves. Okay, last marketing thing that we did was we tried to get, we tried to get every cover in the country. This was like fighting and making phone calls left, right and center to say, I want the cover, and fight for the cover. And then not only fight for the cover, we actually now have a goal to call up Femina and say, I have this great photograph of Deepika, but I want 60,000 for it. And they will actually pay because they have some crappy covers to deal with it, and they have some like really ugly things happening in the business. So when they get my call, they're quite happy, because even though they are parting with the money, they know that they can sell that many more copies. And then other editors will call, and Marie Claire will call and say, like this photograph, we had 3 editors fighting over it. We had Marie Claire, we had Elle Magazine and Femina. Finally, the person who paid us the most with the greatest visibility, because I said, sometimes it's not about the money, sometimes it's about stand value. Because when you see Femina, it's on every stand in the country. We know that the girl that we put on, I mean, Lisa Ray, when she left modeling and came back into modeling, she came and said, Wendell, can we do a cover? I said, yeah, we can. And she said, where do we put it? I said, we have to get it on Femina, because that's the only way to say that you're back. And we did. We keep playing with this. The other thing about fashion is that it's not in the end about just the designer. It is about everything that goes with the designer in terms of like retail. It's about how the shops look. It's about how the shops look. We have to keep this clean image of the clothing going through the store. So when we opened our store in Kampal, we also wanted to dabble a little bit in lifestyle. Frankly, it didn't work because we were only coming to clothes. We just wanted the clothing. We had marking pens in the changing rooms where actors and actresses would write me love notes and say how much they love the clothes, and our people would read and say, wow, someone's changed the clothes in this very room. We had Lakme who inaugurated the show. I was quite happy to come and do the inauguration. We have this was interesting in terms of marketing ploy, because people outside fashion feel that in fashion you have to be bone thin and 6 feet tall. When in actual fact that our biggest selling is our XL size. So when we have like large users who come in, we're very happy to see her at the door. What we've done is we've divided the shop into 3 sections. One is the Wendell Rodrigues white room, which is only white garments, which I'm known for. The one has only cottons and linens, and one has only silks. And what we've done in these rooms is something very interesting in terms of marketing. We actually put each rack according to sizing. So when a lady comes in, she goes straight, we send her or direct her straight away to the S rack or the M rack, or our biggest selling racks, which are large and extra large. And that's what we did with this photograph that you see here is taken in the white room. And the next one of the Marriott, we replicated, because the imaging and branding was already there. We replicated a sense of the shop in all the other shopping shops that we took. So it was always clean, white wood. There's a small trough, can you see at the bottom over there, which has sand in it, so you felt you were in Goa. Put things like slippers and shells and whatever. Lots of photographs to associate my brand name with the stars. There were all these stars. In this case, Ravina Karen came to do the inauguration. I think that's about it. I just want to say that from my management point of view, I only have one rule. I had a superb manager when I worked in the Middle East who said, depute, and depute, and you can trust them. And that's what I do. I don't look at anything beyond my role. I do the clothes, I look after the sample, and then we depute as much as we can because those people know their job best. And it's something very difficult to learn in life, but you just have to depute because that's what gives you your money in the end. Thank you for your attention, and I'll take questions now. Yeah. Oh, sorry, there's one thing before the question. I have one small thing which everybody always would say, it's up, as far as the fashion designer was concerned, it was not only about the clothes. It wasn't about how a person looked, it wasn't about how articulate a person was on television. I always did television because, immediately you're going to 30 million viewers in one shot. And I would later on learn to speak. I would go to my friends because my Hindi is bad like most Goans, and learn to talk about the collection in Hindi because they ask the same questions. Tell us about your collection, what colors are you use, what fabric have you used, what new styling have you done. That's it. So I've learned by heart everything in Hindi. Next language I think I'm going to learn is Malayali because that has a bigger audience, isn't it? So I can get more eyeballs. But people want to see this. People want to see that the designer is not selling expensive clothes because he's poor. That doesn't work because I know there are some designers who don't care about how they look, how they dress, and they project this very shabby image, and people don't buy the clothes because it's fashion. You have to keep up with the image, and our Goa house and homes are part of that image. Yes, sorry. So I'll take your question. Someone back here.
It was really very nice hearing from you. Thank you for coming. So I got two questions for you.
Yes.
The first question is that sir, you came back to India to work with the Indian culture. Sir, to be very frank, when I saw your work, sir, there was the blend of Indian culture and your work was not to be shown, at least in the slide that I saw. And so the second question is, sir, you are really a very popular fashion designer. The question I want to ask is that when you start catering to middle class and middle income group of our society, then do you lose your reputation in the fashion industry? Is that so?
I think I'll answer your second question first. Yes, you lose your reputation of the higher class people because they say, why do we need to buy this when everybody is going to have access to it? That's a rich person's mindset. What we did was we tried that at Westside. It failed miserably. People would we had angry clients in the shop who would say, why are you selling there? That's for middle class people. What we decided is, because we've taken a decision this week, is that next year we are going to sell to what we call mass products like my t-shirt, products which are not going to be sold in the other stores, like a white office going shirt, like a pair of jeans. That will work. I'm confident that will work because it's not the same product. It's not the same market and it's not the same product. And we won't upset the apple cart. Secondly, going back to your earlier question, you will not see anything visually that looks Indian in the work. But believe me, starting from the fabric, which is completely made in India, I'm one of the few designers who doesn't import a single piece of silk or lycra or lurex or sequin. We source everything first of all in this country. Because I feel that we are the artisans and we need to give work to our labor. The second thing is that it's cut completely with a sense of Indian geometry. No foreigner, I can stand on the side of Chanel or Saint Laurent or Gucci and they'll say, how did you think of that? That comes out of an Indian mind. Because we have a perfect sense of math and geometry both. And they would not be able to do any of the stuff that we've already done. Because I knew that internationally, the third thing is that Indian design has got three styles. Okay? One style, as I said, is this Rajasthan style. The other style is this very hippie Bollywood kitsch thing. The third style, which is what we want to send out. One second, I'm just going to go to that. The third style was the abstract style, which was lying dormant actually and not being used at all. The third style is what I am selling. I am selling you garments which look based on a or kind of a village life based on yoga, on Ayurveda and that kind of thing. When I went to Paris last month, I'm sorry, why do I have this? Sorry. When I went to Paris last month, I said I'm going to show that India because that is the abstract India. It is the India which is based on all these principles. So when you see this is actually what we sell. We are selling this very pure line. It can be worn by everyone. And it is a definite Indian line. I mean, even if you see that as a blouse, I see it as coming from a kurta. If you look at the long kind of tunics that are half transparent, whatever, it's still coming out of this country. You may wear it with a gagra, and yeah, we will sell it to a normal person. It won't go out as a mini. So what you see is not necessarily how the garment is worn. And the inspiration is definitely 100% Indian. More importantly, the inspiration is definitely 100% Goan, which the country never saw before, which is why they looked at the clothes and said, like, how can you make this thing can be worn with a pair of slim churidars that can be worn as a kurta with a slip inside. So each garment, like we actually put the sarongs on the international ramp. So how you're seeing it is not necessarily how it will be worn, but the inspirations are definitely 100% Indian. Which is why it can stand alongside the best in the world, and which is why I am very proud of it. Yeah. Yes.
I had to ask a question regarding the first answer that you gave. You said you were going to come up with brands, you were going to come up with products like shirts and jeans for the middle class, so to speak. Are you going to come up with the same brand name and the same?
Yes.
Do you think that will dilute your brand in some way?
No, but we may not call it the entire Wendell Rodrigues. It can just be called Wendell Goa, it can be called Goa, it can be called something which is associated with our brand. We don't need to dilute the main product. Also, what we are getting into is a product which one needs and which again one is buying into an imaging which has been created by the main product. So we are not. Also, I want to make it very clear. Please understand that there's even in what you call middle class or mainstream branding, you have different kinds of mainstream branding. You have Calvin Klein underwear, and you have underwear that's done by Saks Fifth Avenue, and you have underwear which is done by Walmart. It's all three completely different price limits and different fabrics. So we are definitely not going to go to that Walmart level or that Saks Fifth Avenue. We are going to stay at the Calvin Klein level because we are designers and we cannot go down to that level. We don't want to. We can go mass where people want to save 2 months' salary or how much it will cost. But things like a pair of jeans, it doesn't matter to anyone how the jeans are as long as they fit well. And if people feel that they can get a pair of jeans for 500 rupees or for 700 rupees, they can get a Wendell Rodrigues, they'll go and buy that because the imaging has been done. Yeah.
Sir, I wanted to ask as to how do you actually project a trend? If you have started making a collection, how do you know that by the time you complete that collection and put it in the market, it's going to sell that?
We don't know. It is all a trend cycle. A garment is created at the bottom of the graph. Okay, at that small time that it's created, it's like way down at the bottom, and is worn by a few group of people. I'll tell you, I can't see a shirt like that man in the back in the black shirt. Yeah, that shirt I created in 1991. Okay, when I first created it, what I was trying to do in my mind was, I was saying, I'm going to take off everything. I'm going to make it look like a mix of an Indian shirt and a Western shirt. I took off the collar, I took off the buttons, I took off the placket, I took off the cuff. I made it shorter than a normal Indian kurta. So believe it or not, when it first appeared on racks, we wear it in white to start with. Very few people bought it. Then Kavita Khanna, who is Vinod Khanna's wife, came in and said, "Oh, this is an interesting shirt." She bought 5 in one shirt. Okay, when Vinod Khanna wore it, other people saw it, got photographed. Then Arjun Rampal called me and said, "Can I have some shirt?" Shah Rukh Khan called me, "Can I have some shirt?" And what happened was, the small group who started to wear the shirt was still very tiny. Suddenly, on that graph, that item starts to climb, because when they know that people are buying it, what we are showing on television, some lady is sitting in Jalandhar or God knows where, and will go to a local tailor and say, "No, mujhke aisa kapda chahiye." She will want that same kurta shown by Dharu Sailani or whoever it is. What happened to that shirt was, 7 years down the line, and this was my greatest regret that we didn't patent it. it went so mainstream that it became, then once it goes to the top and becomes highly popular, there are two things that can happen on the graph. Either it can stay a classic like a Chanel jacket or a sari, for example, or it can start to downsize and go out of style. What happened with this shirt is that it stayed on that level and kept increasing so much so that even now today, at Christian Dior and all these big brands, Paul Smith internationally, you can get a shirt that I designed in 91. So that is a trend cycle and the way it moves, because then people started to add embroidery, they started making colors, whatever. So the fact of the matter is that people in the industry knew that they were seeing something new, and they said, because they are seeing like 50 shows a year in one fashion week, or sometimes 65 shows. They know which clothes are going to look new and which are going to catch the trend. I mean, the journalists who are reading, so they will enhance that as a trend. Okay, yeah.
Like she was asking you about trends. Typically, you do a lot of experimenting, even cuts, and especially in the fabrics. You said you include banana fiber and pineapple fiber. Whatever. So, what kind of wastages do you have while designing? A lot of these fabrics don't work.
We are fortunately blessed to be in a country where we can weave 2 meters of cloth. I can go to a weaver and say, just make me 2.5 meters, I want to make one shirt. And then if the garment, what happens is that we show all the garments on stage, like these ones that you've seen, we show it in a show, each one has a style number, each one has a price, and then the buyers will come and say, okay fine, we have 10 stores in Madrid or whatever it is, can you give me 20 pieces of that skirt? So once we get the order, then we know that we've not lost our money, because then it's just about money coming in for a product. But we don't spend much money on the collection. At least I don't. I know there are lots of designers, those who do all this, jari and embroidery or whatever, get stuck with dead stock or crores. And touch wood, we don't have that problem. Yes, please.
When you started off, you did everything yourself. You were an entrepreneur that time, you had one store. But then now that you've grown to more than 4 stores and such a huge brand name in India, do you feel a loss of control? And if you do, how do you manage it?
Actually, we don't feel a loss of control because we don't want to grow too much. Listen, I'm a Goan, I'm relaxed in my head. I don't have a store in London and one in New York and God knows where, like go flying around and then not live my life here in Goa. So I made up my mind is that we'll do as much business as long as it won't affect my lifestyle and the fun we're having here in Goa. So that's but I know there are lots of people who go for the money, but then you just become a product in the end. All these designers are under so much stress. If you meet Tom Ford at Gucci, he's so stressed out that he can't even think straight. It's just your entire reputation depends on the next collection, and you just work non-stop. People think that I'm sitting on a beach and having a penny in my hand. The truth couldn't have been further. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm in my office at 7:30, and I finish work every day between 6:30 to 8. Somewhere along the way, we have days of fun like the ads and the partying and the models, but most of the time we work very hard, including BBM. Because we can't go and say, I'm sorry, everything is set up, we don't have clothes to show you. Yeah, I know you are feeling. Yeah.
So you were the first designer to be invited at IGETO this year. You were the first Indian designer to open Dubai Fashion Week. You were the first to be invited at M-Town Hall in Paris. So having worked at all these international places, where would you say India stands in the world fashion line?
In fashion, I don't think we should bother about where we stand. In fact, I don't think we should bother about the rest of the world at all. This is the country to be in right now. We are in the best time, in the best place in the world. You have a balance of getting labor, which is really reasonable. You have a balance of enjoying as much life. If somebody gave me, I don't know, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is in dollars, and said go and live in New York, I'll turn it down because this is the country I want to be. Because we lead a very good life over here. You have emotions attached to your job and to other people, which we don't have. So I think I feel sad when people say, oh, we're going to America. I say, oh, well, you'll learn the hard way. Because I went and lived there for 2 years, and I lived in Paris and in so many places in the world. I think that India stands uniquely in a position where you can work and more importantly, you can enjoy your money and your lifestyle. Because if I had kids, I wouldn't want my kids to be running on the street in Manhattan. I would rather have them in my village, enjoying the life that I feel a child should enjoy.
When a person buys a designer garment, they just don't buy the designer garment. They buy a lot of the whole aura behind the garment, the designed in a bulk thing, but the cut and the final finish is for them. So like when not just you but any designer, when they have stores all over the world, the country, whatever, if they have multiple stores, how do they ensure that personalized effect, the personalized treatment to each customer who comes into the store?
This may come as a shock to you, but most of the designers are not interested to sell the clothes. They'll be quite happy if the clothes can sell. They want the accessories to sell. They want their sunglasses to sell, their perfume to sell, their shoes to sell, because that's where the real money is. You pay $20 and you can get your Gucci sunglasses made in China, and you can sell the same product for $400. That's where the big money is, because clothes are a big problem. You have to have stock, you have to order fabric, you have to cut it, you have to fit it. But going back to sizing, we have learned over a period of time what would suit you and what would suit your body size, because after dealing with the industry for 17 years, I can stand up and I don't want to embarrass anyone, but I can read people's measurements. I can tell a lady exactly what her bra size is, I can tell exactly what her waist is, and it all fits into a same dimension. It's a few inches give and take here and there. I mean, almost every woman in the country has like, bust size goes from 35 to 38 in general. So let's talk about 3 inches. And do you know what 3 inches is? It's about that much. And when you go all around the body, it makes no difference. And once you master the technique of knowing people's measurements, because we are a big country like America, where you have different sizes. You have very petite women, you have very tall women, you have large women, slim. And we know what sells in different parts of the country. After some time, you learn that, okay, in Bangalore you can sell either petites or you can sell XL. Because there are these two kind of women that live there. If you're living in Delhi or Bombay, then you know that you have to sell all the glamorous clothes where everyone wants to be as thin as a model. And they succeed also. So we can sell our model clothes only in Delhi at time. So you learn the market. It's about how the market is. You feel that you're getting a personalized fit. Actually you're not. You're just getting what we have studied of your size. Yeah.
Why do you like whites?
I like it. It's a South Indian color. It's a combination of all colors. I don't think any other color has got that many emotions attached to it. It's for purity, for lightness, for mourning in terms of sorrow. But also my clothes, since we experiment with so many cuts and silhouettes, it's better if it's in white, because if we add it in color, it would or might pollute the form.
But as far as I understand fashion, the only reason fashion is so prominent in India is because of the colors. I remember in my office once, there were foreign visitors, and the only one thing they said when they entered the elevator in my office was that even in an office, you have so many colors to wear. Everybody's in suits and saris, as in salwar kameez, suits and saris, whereas outside they're just wearing a black and white business suit. So their lives are always in black and white when it comes to clothes and actors. So why not color in, if India is so famous for its color, then why not color?
No, in fact, I personally love color. I think, and I like very much what you said. Do you know we are the only country in the world that is wearing our clothing legacy for the past 6,000 years. We are the only ones. You go to China, go to Japan, everyone is wearing sad Western clothes. I mean, what's their Western clothes? There's nothing. A lady has a choice between a blouse, a skirt, a pant and a jacket. And that's it. It's just a full stop. It's a stupid way of dressing. Whereas in India, we have so many varieties and so many colors and so many prints. I am only talking about myself because I know I have a niche market in terms of my USP. If I start going into, we do like bright colors, I'm sure you saw, we do reds and whatever, but we try not to, I think in my life and in my career I've understood more importantly what one should not do rather than what one can do. Because once you set that boundary and say, I'm not going there, I'm not going to go to an embroidery cart and I'm not going to do that many colors, then you know that your product has a focus and people will come and tune into that focus because you get people of a similar aesthetic.
So you had said that a designer is not concerned about selling his clothes, he's more into selling.
No, I'm talking about mainstream design.
Yes.
Like I always Christian Dior.
So does that apply to you also?
No, we need the money. How do I live?
So then what are your views with respect to fashion piracy?
Sorry?
Fashion piracy.
It's a compliment. You can't stop it. Yeah, as soon as it goes on brand, it's like a baby copy has been born and it's out, and then it does whatever it wants to do. And you can't, once it comes on the rack and you know that there are 25 television stations and about 400 media people covering it, you can be sure someone somewhere is going to copy it the next day. Yeah.
So there were a lot of female models in your slides. How much do you design for males?
We actually do a lot of women's clothes for the imaging for obvious reasons. But we do sell as much menswear, and in fact, men are our better buyers. They walk into a shop and buy 6 shirts at that time. I have not seen, in my entire career, I have seen very few men who come and buy one shirt. Because as creature of habit, one they will go and say, oh, this suits me, and I'm buying only this. We have faithful clients who've come back after 15 years and said, do you remember 15 years ago I bought that particular shirt, can you repeat it for me? Because they are so comfortable in that shirt. Whereas with women, they need the change, or rather society makes them feel that they need the change. In reality, nobody needs a change. You don't just need another shirt. I don't need another shirt or another trouser. It's just, it's a human trait that we are not happy with what we have on us in terms of decoration, and the industry feeds onto that ego.
I have a question.
Yeah. Not about your office, I'm sorry.
Not about your office. You said that you have these fashion weeks or shows, and you present your clothes or your landscape, and then there are probably orders which come to you. So what are the timelines that you operate with? Obviously, the orders come, you expect to put them get back.
This is a different question. It all depends on the order, and it all depends on the client. If tomorrow, like after one show, if like Tabu or somebody comes and says, who I know is going to be high profile, and say I want to wear that gown in 2 days time at some award, I'll say take it. Because I know that that's going to generate me publicity. But I think a normal timeline, it depends on the garments, because if the garments are white and they are already woven, we have a block order that this can be woven in 10 days and shipped to you, then we can deliver 1 month. But a lot of the garments, most of the garments, the lead time is between 2 months to 4 months. Normally 3 months, but I think you can do it in 2 months. And see, also there's a big problem with the order. What happens is that you're looking at your order on its own. We can't look at it that way. I mean, on that one, say one white kurta, there are some 200 people placing orders in different quantities. I can't tell my weaver in Bangalore on Banaras and say, weave me 200 meters, and after 2 weeks again call and say, weave me now 50 meters. It can't be done. They'll be fed up with us. So we have to get the entire order in and say, okay, now since we've got so many of this, that order waits, because actually we know that if once it's out, someone else will copy it. So we're going to order like 1,200 meters at one go.
It was a lovely meeting to you. We had a lovely 1 hour session. It was
With eye candy.
and gossip. And it was actually different from a lot of management what we read and what we study. So thank you, Mr. Rodrigues, for coming and spending your time in your busy schedule. As a token of appreciation, I would